Hey, welcome to another episode of Have Shirts, Will Travel with Wendell. This morning, I'm having something I like to call a Truman Old Fashioned. A little something, as Harry would have said, get the motor running. Harry Truman was our 33rd president. He enjoyed a little bourbon here, there, and yonder. Actually, he enjoyed a lot of bourbon. We're going to talk about bourbon. We're going to talk about Harry Truman. We're going to talk about old fashions. No show that discusses drinking is complete without doing something dedicated to the old fashioned. And of course, first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this shirt. So, this is a Reyn Spooner made from rayon. I estimate it to probably be from the early or mid 90s, maybe a little bit later. One of the reasons I bought this is because, of course, if you're searching for cool shirts and you're doing research, you cannot not go through old episodes of Magnum P.I. Now, interestingly enough, and we've discussed, or we will discuss other Magnum shirts in future episodes. He was most famous for wearing this red, called the Jungle Bird pattern, and it was sort of the signature shirt. I understand they picked it to match the color of the Ferrari. Later, the shirt, or at least one of the shirts they used, was donated to the Smithsonian, where you can see it today. I have a few of those. As I said, we'll discuss them in the future. There were a number of other shirts. Magnum always wore the Aloha shirts. And interestingly enough, you can find reproductions or still being manufactured versions of the shirt he wore, with one exception. And I did a little research and was on a couple of Facebook pages and came across this shirt. Someone had posted pictures. It was a screenshot from an episode. And the person claimed that next to the Jungle Bird print, this was the most commonly worn shirt on the show. Now, he didn't know the brand, he didn't know the maker, and we had no information on it. For some reason, it's sort of, that shirt is just lost to the wind. But I did go do a big search, and I came across this little number, and it's very similar. I like it. It's got subtle colors to it. I often don't go with lighter colored shirts, white, light yellows, things like that, because, well, you know, I drink red wine a lot and I spill it on things, so this would show the stains. This one, again, as I said, was made by Reyn Spooner. I have a sort of on-again, off-again relationship with Reyn Spooner Shirts. I really like stuff they did in the 90s and early 2000s. They were working with fantastic materials. They were doing a lot of reproductions of classic prints. Unfortunately, what they really like to manufacture, and it's sort of their signature, is a reverse print. So imagine if you take the shirt, turn it inside out, you would see a very faded version of the print. And that's their signature style. I don't see them using rayon anymore. I have some great ones that were not only rayon, but Egyptian cotton. They were soft, they drape. The newer ones that they're putting out with this reverse print is made from something they call spooner cloth. I don't know what it is, other than it's kind of like a scratchy cotton. And the idea of wearing something that's supposed to look like it's already broken in was never really appealing to me. Don't go out and buy a cowboy hat that's pre-broken in. Buy it, wear it in the rain, wear it in the sun, let it get broken in. It's the same thing with your jeans. Don't buy jeans that are faded and ripped. Buy new ones. Wash them a lot. Wear them a lot. Stretch them out. Let the rips start to happen. That is a legit look. Pre-manufactured aging is just something that doesn't appeal to me. Everybody has their own taste, and a lot of people don't want to put in the time or the work to get that. I get it. I get it. You need that look, you need it tomorrow, so you take shortcuts. But like I said, if you can find older Reyn Spooners, especially, like I said, I believe this is from the 90s. I have some 90s and early 2000s. They were doing a lot with rayon and these classic prints. You should definitely try and get your hands on one. So, this is not the shirt that was the second most worn shirt on Magnum P.I, but it looks really good. It looks really close. I'm going to try and find that picture, the screenshot of that screen, and you can get the idea. So we've got that. Now, I started out mentioning Harry Truman. Why do we want to talk about Harry Truman? One of the things that Harry really liked, besides bourbon, was Hawaiian shirts. And I think a lot of people were flabbergasted when he appeared on the cover of Life magazine wearing Hawaiian shirts. Historically, Life many years later declared it was possibly one of the worst covers they ever did. It's a famous cover. We'll post a picture of it. Harry loved his Hawaiian shirts. He wore them, I'm told, not only during casual times, but sometimes while he was working. And another reason I liked this shirt was it's not a match for any shirts I could find in photographs of him, but it does have a similar feel to that famous shirt that he's wearing on the cover of Life magazine. So I thought, a lost Magnum shirt, a nod to a president who not only loved Hawaiian shirts, but openly wore them, and definitely would have affected the fashion industry. Again, when a major celebrity or figure like that is seen wearing that, it's going to take off. I'm sure that was a boost to the Aloha shirt manufacturing economy. That being said, again, how are we getting into this Harry Truman thing? Well, he's 82 days into his vice presidency. He wasn't even the first choice as a vice president. He was actually the third choice. The first two choices were just deemed not popular enough. FDR is in the middle of running a campaign in the middle of World War II, and Harry Truman he was a senator from Missouri, and he comes out of the woodwork. They find him and they feel that he is just enough, neither left nor right, top nor bottom, and no one seems to have a major problem with him, so they decide he'll be a good running choice for FDR. He becomes vice president. 82 days into that, FDR passes away. The reins are handed off to Mr. Truman. So, Harry worked hard. In the morning, his favorite drink was, I should say his favorite breakfast was an egg, a slice of toast, a slice of bacon, and a shot of Old Granddad, which was classic bourbon. I have to tell you, I'm going to go look for some, and I think in the future I want to do a little episode where we do some taste testing, and I'm going to include Old Granddad. Told that Harry also liked wild turkey. I'm very familiar with that. Highly recommend that. I had neither of those present today, so I picked another bourbon that I thought would be a good substitute for those, and I'll explain why in a minute. But when it comes to cocktails, of course, being a bourbon fan, Harry liked the Old Fashioned. And as I said at the beginning, no show discussing cocktails is ever complete without a discussion of the Old Fashioned. Now, as I said, I'm drinking what I have named the Truman Old Fashioned. But let's start with the regular Old Fashioned. Now, of course, the Old Fashioned, everybody has a spin on it. It's a classic drink that goes back, I believe, to the mid-1800s. And it was a combination of bourbon, bitters, a little bit of water. Pretty simple drink. I understand the bitters and the sugar were to help to offset the bourbon. And I think back in the mid-1800s to late 1800s, the quality of bourbon was all over the map. So you probably needed something to tame it down, because I'm sure in some cases it was the equivalent of firewater. So today, I'm working with Old Forester. Old Forester 1897 is their bottled and bond recipe. Bottled and bond was a way that the government, realizing that there were no rules to bourbon being manufactured and sold, decided to establish a baseline recipe, and that would determine the quality of the bourbon. So if you met those requirements, you got a stamp or a bond on your bottle. And when you sold that to the bars and bartenders, the bond meant that this had been approved by the government and was therefore a higher quality bourbon. And that's where the term bottled and bond comes from. A lot of bourbon manufacturers will do a bottled and bond version where they go back to that original recipe. So, figuring it's kind of old and traditional, represents quality, knowing that the Old Granddad or the Wild Turkey probably wasn't going to be too far off from this recipe, I went with that. So, we've got that. And we've got some Angostura bitters. I've got some Demerara sugar cubes. That might be a slight variation, but you always want to start with sugar cube. Now, we need a good glass. I'm going to show you how to make what would have been a very traditional old-fashioned as it would have been served to Harry. A requested drink, he starts with that sugar cube. We're doing this in this glass cocktail mixing glass. We're going to take the Angostura bitters, probably 4 good dashes. We want to soak that sugar cube. Put it out here so we get a better view. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Remember, again, we're trying to work with they were trying to work with rather questionable quality bourbon at the time, which is why this happens. Now, I've got this cocktail mixing spoon, or a bar spoon as they call it. Got that teardrop shape. This one comes with a muddler on the end. This is a great muddler, but generally speaking, cocktail spoons that have a muddler, it's very poor quality. This is a very good one. It's got serrated edges that really dig in and grind and help you mash that sugar cube up. So if you can find one of these, I think this might have been made by, what do they call it, Crown Cocktail, something like that. But try and look it up, but find one with a good muddler on the end, or don't bother and just get a muddler, which is a separate thing entirely. Looks like a miniature baseball bat, and you can just use it to grind and twist and whatever dance moves you like to make. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to add just a little bit of water. And again, the water helps break down that sugar cube. Probably also helped cool off that hotter, high-octane bourbon that people were getting. And we're going to stir that a little bit. And the other reason you want to do that is because if you don't, you're going to end up with a pile of sugar at the bottom of the glass. The idea is we don't want that pile of sugar. Now, I'm told that in the old days, you would actually be served your old-fashioned. They would hand you a spoon, so at the end, after you finish the drink, you can scoop out the sugar and finish it off with that. They were going through rough times, so don't hold these things against them. I personally am not big on eating sugar off the end of a spoon, no matter what it's been soaked in. So we've mixed that up real good. Now I'm going to, if I can find it here, I'm going to add 3 ounces of bourbon. And most recipes you'll see will usually go between 1.5 and 2 ounces. Why is this? I don't know. That seems to be the rule. Apparently they want people to exercise a little moderation. Harry was noted for complaining that when they made his old fashioned, oftentimes it was weak and it needed to be stronger. I love Harry. So we're going to do a 3-ounce pour in our old fashioned. We want to amp that up a little bit because that's what Harry, I think, would have done. So we've got a 3-ounce pour over that sugar and water and bitters. Now what we want to do, we're going to add an ice cube to our mixing glass. We're going to add an ice cube to our rocks glass. Got a special container for my special all clear ice cubes. Right, so the reason we're going to do that is we want to chill this drink. I like those clear ice cubes, as I've said many times, because it will chill the drink, but it doesn't melt or break down and water down your drink. I think Harry would not have liked that. So we're stirring. Again, talking about our cocktail spoons or our bar spoons. Get something with a twirl in it. The idea is whenever you're mixing that drink, it should easily twirl in your hand. You want the outer edge to always stay on the outside of your glass as you're spinning. The twirled or twisted metal handle helps maintain that as you stir. Now the last thing we're going to do is traditional, have an orange peel. Once again, we're going to try and do this without injuring myself. I'm trying to turn the orange, not pull the peeler. Sometimes you split the difference. Got a decent little piece there, and I do like this particular, it was fairly inexpensive, but it's got just the right, I'm talking about this peeler, it's got just the right depth of the blades that we don't get the pith, but we get all the oil. And this is a very oily piece of peel right now. Always like to heat that up just to help express that oil a little bit. We're going to rub it on the glass. Going to express that oil as best we can in there. We've got the ice already in place because we do want to serve this over ice, but we're going to pour straight from it. We use our strainer. In we go. And then, if you must, you can add a cherry to this. You can do a maraschino cherry. I always am fond of these Luxardos. The Luxardo has a little bit of that syrup in it. And the syrup is just enough to give a little flavor to your drink without overpowering it. Cheers. A pretty traditional old fashioned, pretty easy to make. A little bit of water with your sugar and your bitters. Mix it up really well. Again, use a strainer so that you don't get a bunch of leftover sugar poured in separately, but I think we've got this mixed up pretty good, pretty clear. And now I'm going to tell you about the Truman Old Fashioned. Harry liked his old fashions. He liked them strong, but that breakfast in the morning, egg, slice of toast, slice of bacon, and oh yes, shot of old granddad. So, as Harry said, sometimes in the morning, you need to get your motor running. So, I've just added an ounce of bourbon to this glass. Again, we're making what I like to call the Truman Old Fashioned. So I've just added an ounce of bourbon to an empty glass. I'm going to drink it. Like I said, Harry liked one of those in the morning. Helped get the motor running, as Harry said. So that's what I call a Truman Old Fashioned. In a biography of him, the author noted through interviews that a lot of times Harry would order that old-fashioned cocktail, but would really prefer if you left out a couple things. The sugar, the bitters, the water, and anything else that went with it. So in other words, the Truman Old Fashioned. It's a bourbon, leave everything else out. Now, if you like brunches, and you're into those brunch cocktails like mimosas and of course Bloody Marys, by all means. But if it's a Sunday afternoon and you worked hard all week and you need a little something to get the motor running, you might want to start your day with a Truman Old Fashioned. This has been another episode of Have Shirts Will Travel with Wendell. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers. If you want more of my thoughts and insights on aloha shirts, cocktails, gear, tools, or anything else I may think of, please like and subscribe. See you in the next episode of Have Shirts Will Travel.